Hey, Blue Cheese.
Hey, what?
I'm Brian. I'm podcast lead, kind of.
I'm Talal.
And I'm Parker.
And I have many names. I am Kalakratipale, more commonly known as Kai or Kala, depending on who you ask.
In this episode, we're going to be talking about programming. So, Kai,
Hi.
as the programming lead, what do you do?
Decide to
about?
play League. Ace Attorney.
The funny thing is I don't actually play League yet, although I have to get around to that.
Keyword yet.
Keyword yet.
First, you had to get your law degree.
I have to get my law degree first, and then finish the Ace Attorney series, and then I can play League.
Okay.
We're getting there.
Off to a great start.
But in reality, I have two main jobs. There's managing the programming of the robot, and then managing training the programming rookies. And then also, this year was extra special because nobody knew what they were doing thanks to COVID. So I had the third job of teaching the veterans. So that's basically what I've been doing.
Is there a particular language you teach the kids, or do you teach them a whole bunch of different
So
languages?
we only teach Java because we only program robots in Java. First itself has libraries, and they have libraries in Java and I believe C++. And the CIT at Deep Run teaches Java to kids, so it's much easier for us to just use Java for everything. I teach Java to the freshmen, but I would prefer they learn it themselves. I teach it to them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, as a programming rookie myself, Java is the easiest part of knowing robot code. Because I don't know robot code.
Java is just one part of robot code. The robot code is its whole other thing because of First's libraries.
For somebody who may be unknowledged in programming, what exactly is a library, Kai?
Aha! So a library is a bunch of pre-written code. So you'll have things that are let's say classes or methods. This is stuff that says here is an input-output box. When I throw this at you, I want you to spit this data back at me. So this could be something like, I want to get the information about how fast the motor is going right now, or information from a certain sensor. So the pre-written stuff is first taking care of the behind the scenes. So all I have to do is say, I want this data from this sensor. And the first library is pre-written code that figures out all the actual details of how the sensor works.
Sounds complicated.
It is. A little bit. It's not actually as hard as it sounds.
So, as I'm also a programming rookie, like I've mentioned, I know there's a lot of programming rookies this year.
There's at least 20. It's insane.
So how have you kind of tried to manage that this year?
Hypothetically, we split into Tuesday and Thursday groups, but in reality, a good chunk of the rookies come both days, and it's just kind of a mess of people coming whenever they want to. In the beginning of the year, before build season, I was basically actively teaching them Java and then moving on to robot code. So I was the lesson planner and teacher. And then build season happened, and trying to manage school and the robot and teaching was impossible. So I just kind of didn't teach the rookies for a while. And then Mr. Sarov took over, so now I'm extra not teaching the rookies. So yeah. I don't know.
So is he just teaching them Java, or is he teaching them robot code?
He's teaching them Java and robot code, as far as I saw.
Okay. Because I haven't been to a programming meeting in
The
months.
thing is he also simultaneously teaches himself robot code, so I kind of need to talk to him about that.
I mean, it's one way to manage.
Was there anyone else that was helping you at the beginning of the year?
Not really, to be honest. Some of the veterans were, there to answer questions, but I don't want to name names, but some were far more helpful than others, so yeah.
It was mostly Ryan, Ben, who tried
No.
to
Ryan and Ben were super helpful. Ryan was super helpful with the robot itself. He programmed probably more than anybody else because of all the edits that he made. Ben, same there, he helped a lot with the robot, and then he took over teaching after build season started.
Yeah, it was impressive. I think everyone worked together pretty well,
Yeah.
despite not knowing much.
Chris also helped. Chris helped a lot in the early part of the year in managing people because there were even more programming rookies then.
Did a lot of people stop being programming rookies?
It's more like they just kind of decided that they didn't like it anymore, which, fair. They weren't really trying anyway, so I don't really miss them.
Like that usually kind of happens with like most of the subgroups every
Yeah,
year.
that's a pretty common occurrence, that a lot of people just kind of drop out over the year.
Yeah, I mean, okay, before we get into all the technical stuff, what all fun stuff is programmed on the robot this year?
Ooh.
Like all the little Easter eggs.
So I think my favorite Easter eggs is test mode. There's this type of motor called a Falcon or a Talon FX. It's what we use on our shooter this year. So it has a special like set of methods which let you use it to play music. So we have 2 Falcons. So in test mode, if you run test mode, it'll play the that Among Us Trap remix. Like I made a MIDI cover of that. The thing that's like do 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 do. It plays that thing, and it's really funny. I made a couple other MIDI songs. There's also Hotline Bling, and I am working on putting on the Ritz. That'll happen eventually.
Is there no Rick Astley?
I can work on that after the Ritz, but I think the Ritz is more special.
Very vital.
Yeah.
It's of utmost importance.
Yeah.
Is it vital?
Oh, I did work on a Megalovania, but like,
Oh no.
I lost all my progress and I didn't feel motivated enough to start over.
Yeah, that's basically programming. I've accidentally not saved files in the last week 3 times, and I've had to rate the same program 4 times.
Yeah. This is why we constantly control S every 3 minutes.
I might just create a macro to do it for me.
Every time you press a key, it controls us.
Yeah, it's constantly updating.
That sounds useful.
Yeah. I don't actually know much about code, so.
I don't think there's any other Easter eggs in the robot, it's just the music stuff.
So, I don't know myself what happened, but I was just thinking of a very funny story at the beginning of this year during Autonomous.
Oh god.
So,
the beginning of the year.
It was more like the first competition that we
it was the
went to.
first competition, but at this first competition, we were doing our automatic part of the robot. And we somehow managed to rack up 44 penalty points, setting a new record.
So, what a limelight is, it's a sensor that shines green light on stuff, and then takes light back in and identifies targets based on, like, what light's reflected back. So if it's pointed at reflective tape, and we apply certain filters to the vision field and such, you can detect the bright green light getting reflected back. We tried to tune the limelight, but apparently it wasn't tuned properly because it was targeting something way across the field that was not the reflective tape on the upper hub, and so it just kind of went insane. And then it targeted somebody's robot, and it was not good.
It was impressive, to say the least.
It was kind of funny to watch.
It was hilarious.
But yeah, it wasn't even, like, bad auto code. It was just untuned sensor.
It was playing the wrong robot game.
So, is that the only sensor we have on the robot?
No, we also have, a couple others. I think a notable one is the encoders in the motor controllers, which see how much you've rotated the wheels, and we could use that to travel certain distances. We didn't end up using it because it was being very difficult in the days before competition, and it wasn't important anyway.
Yeah, the days before competition. So, Kat took a bit of time this year, meaning Bill had less time to spend. So you do want to talk about how getting the robot the night before was? Kind of your experience with that?
How was the sleepover?
So, this is FYI, because I'm assuming most people listening don't have full context. We got the robot, so there was a, what is it called? Week 0 thing?
Yes, week 0.
Yeah, we had week 0 on a Saturday. I don't know which Saturday. And so the Friday before that Saturday is when we finally got partial access to the robot. And so, I don't think it was exactly like that, actually. No, it was, that was when we first got access to the robot. And then, as soon as we started programming it, Build found more problems with it, so it turned out we didn't actually have access to the robot. So, that Saturday of week 0 was the first time we got the robot working, and it was only, like, doing a preliminary job. And so then, the next week after that was the next time we actually had to work on the robot because Build had to fix it again. And so that was right before a competition. So we stayed there. Competition was on Sunday. So on Friday night, we went there. We stayed at PCS overnight, programming the whole thing, and still having to have Build fix stuff. And then Saturday, like morning and afternoon, we finished the robot, and then did the judges pits thing where we had to call the judges and they looked at our robot. And then Sunday was our competition. So it was kind of insane.
It was eventful to say the least. As somebody volunteering there, I could just see the soul draining out of everyone.
Yeah, we had the Ritz on loop for like an hour or 2 hours in Friday night. I got like a total of an hour and 30 minutes of sleep that night, I think, because I went to bed at like 4 and then woke up at 5:30 and drank tea and went back to work.
Yeah, that's the life of a programmer as it is.
You get good sleep the other days, but then there's just like that one day that Build says, hey, program the entire robot in 2 hours. And you tell them, no, I'm going to stay here overnight because that's unrealistic.
So, Brian, you're on Build, right?
I guess so.
I mean, what's kind of... how much do you guys communicate with programming?
Remember, I joined late, so I didn't really build the robot.
I can tell you how much they communicated with us.
Go ahead.
A little bit, not very much. I kind of harassed Eli into telling me the parts of the robot, made an entire plan, figured out they changed it, and made the plan again. And then, yeah, it was interesting. A lot of it later on, Later on, we kind of had this like loop of passing the robot back and forth dependent on what wasn't working or what we wanted to work on. So at that point, our communication was a lot better because it was like programming and Build working at the same time.
Solid, yeah. I mean, I guess now it's time to talk about the actual inner workings of the program. So, what all was involved in making the robot this year, I guess? I guess we start with the motors, go to everything else?
Kinda, not exactly, sorta. So, how I usually start is, at least that's the system that I did this year, is I figured out what each, component of the robot was, and then what programmable parts each had. So, if I remember correctly, we had the launcher, which included the tower that puts balls into the spinny boy. I don't know what it's called. I do know what it's called. I just can't remember the word. No, the
part that shoots,
the shooter,
part that kicks in the balls.
Spinner on the shooter.
It's a belt something.
And then there was the intake, which is both moving up and down and has a roller.
And then it has the little wheels.
It also has the indexers.
Can't see what I'm doing.
Then there's the drivetrain. There's alignment. There's other stuff. There's the hood. A lot of stuff going on. And then there's a lot of logic for getting shooting angles right, and also some for auto aligning, which is kind of split between. So how I organize the code is by component. So I had one folder of all the quote unquote backend code, which was dealing with individual motors or solenoids or sensors, whatever. And then another folder of control code. So taking that quote unquote backend code and joining it with the controller, so the control scheme, because our robots are controlled with 2 Xbox controllers. I kind of forced Ryan to program most of the controls because he is the driver, so he knows what the controls are, and that way he can decide. It's nice having a driver that's also a programmer because I can make him do everything to do with controls instead of doing it myself. That's the basic process. Then that gave us a good framework to go back and fix stuff. Later on, we added stuff this table of set shoot point distance value thingies, tons of crazy auto align stuff, custom temporary velocity stuff, and then during our last competition, so district championships, I programmed linear regression code that I think worked. I'm not sure.
What exactly do you mean by linear regression code?
I'm glad you asked. For people who haven't taken AP statistics, it's like a line of best fit, Except in this case, I actually made a quadratic equation of best fit because it fit better.
So what did it?
Yeah,
So, like,
calculate?
it's for, like, I have, like, set points of, like, this is the hood angle and velocity to shoot at when I'm at this distance from the target. So it graphs mentally a quadratic equation in all those set points I found out, kind of. And so it can just, like, be like, well, when I was here, I shot really fast and really low, but when I was here, I shot really high and really slow. So if I'm in the middle of those 2 points, I'll just shoot in the middle-ish. This is easier to explain with diagrams.
I think I get it.
Yeah. It's
So
just
it, like, measures where it is and measures how fast it shoots, and you take those from if it makes it in, and then you use all
Well,
those data.
what I mean to
figure.
say is, we kind of empirically tested and found, like, set points that we could shoot from, and the linear regression was, like, using that data to extrapolate more points you could shoot from
So-
based on empirical data.
So there's been a lot of discussion of set points versus physics this year. Any comments on that?
I spent 3 weeks trying to figure out robot physics, and I didn't use it. So if there's anybody who's disappointed about not using physics, it is me. It didn't work, and I didn't have time to make it work, so I just went with set points, and those worked super well, so we just kept up with them.
I think we'll use physics next year.
I don't know, it depends on what the game is and what the robot is, and how good the programmers are at physics. Because physics is a different skill from programming.
We do have a physics teacher as our coach.
Yeah, and he can probably help at least a little.
He didn't do the physics for the robot.
Is it picking
I
me
did the
up?
physics for the
It
robot.
is.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah, you
Don't
can
worry
make it
about
sound
it.
better later.
So, what else have we done in programming this year? I mean, there's been a lot.
It has been kind of insane. I've heard whispers of somebody wanting to involve, like, machine learning or something. I heard someone was interested in finally programming our swerve. So am I.
Yeah, so actually, I think one comment is, what would everyone like to see on the robot in the upcoming years? Or next year, probably. Just as build or programming. One of those two.
For me, I would like to see more creative application of sensors. I feel like we could do a lot of cool stuff we aren't, because every programming lead, or just programmer in general, is like starting from scratch, which is bad because we have so much past experience and it's just not getting passed down. You have to teach ourselves everything for no reason. So I'm trying to maybe make that easier.
So each year the programmers don't really look at the old stuff?
No, we just completely start over, basically.
Which is kind of dumb. This year we reused some old stuff, looked up a lot of stuff. It was still hard because the previous programmers didn't teach us a lot of stuff because of COVID and such. And for some reason, programmers just want to program everything themselves from scratch. Or programmers don't want to pass down their knowledge, and it makes absolutely no sense.
So,
That's not really a robot thing, that's just a thing.
I mean, it's a thing to improve.
Yeah. I'm pointedly staring at Parker and Brian like, hey, do you have anything you want on the robot?
Oh, I'd like to see it do more things autonomously, like, again, with sensors being able to tell where things are, sort of.
We did
Whatever.
have a 3-ball.
Have we ever considered just making a test, like, arena and then just mapping it?
That's what we did.
Just like, well, yeah, but like just mapping everything. If we ever get the robot early.
What do you mean?
What do you mean early? That's
Like-
possible?
You gonna get like insider information?
No, I mean like, because we know how big the arena is always going to be.
Yeah.
So we could theoretically just like build one and then just have everything.
You
like,
don't have the
hard.
space for that.
I know.
We don't have
It's
the
like the size of the
space or the time
I mean,
or the mental energy.
I don't
Or-
think
or the
time is
actual
much of an
effort.
issue. I think the space is probably the biggest issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we have like
'Cause,
probably like a fourth of the gym, and it's basically the size of the gym
Yeah.
No, the area is
It's not that big.
as far as the
it's
length goes.
as wide as this room, right?
Wide, maybe. Not as long.
It is.
That-
It's much longer.
That
than
way,
that.
the one with the whiteboard on it.
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah. It's
And
way
then I'd
that
say
way.
it's probably
not 1.5 of those that big projector board.
I feel like
It's like
talking about dimensions of a room in an audio podcast isn't the most...
No, it's
They
great
can
comedy.
imagine. We can draw a diagram. From
Look,
the show
just
notes.
think about the field from
a
competition.
visual image inside
Or
of
we
their head.
could just, upload a file of the map of the field.
And just activate my DM skills. Like, you're in a room that's approximately 25 feet.
There's a
50
clock on the
feet.
wall that says it's currently 5:33 p.m.
I would like to say Parker looked at the computer analog clock, digital clock, instead of reading the analog clock.
Yeah.
I mean,
Listen, it's a skill issue.
Yeah.
you know what? I didn't know how to read analog clocks till like 8th grade.
Did you know that fact scares me? That most people my age cannot read analog clocks?
They can't?
Yeah.
I can read
We
analog
have,
clocks,
like,
I
this-
just choose not to.
We had like this whole clocks unit when I was in first grade.
Yeah, I think I did. I don't remember if it was in first grade. I remember doing something like that in elementary school.
I think it was first grade
I
anyway.
like how 2 of the podcasts have gone to talking about elementary school.
I mean, it's a high time in our lives.
Yep.
In elementary school was the best. You get nap time, and everyone
I had
wants nap
chickens in
time.
elementary school.
I used to hate nap time, actually.
Yeah, everyone hates it when they have it, but as soon as they lose it, everyone's sad.
God, I wish I
Because they don't give it to you when you need it. In
Yeah.
high school, that's when you're sleeping at like 4 a.m.
Yeah, you get like
because
what?
you were programming the robot until 3 a.m. and you were doing your homework until 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then you sleep at 4 a.m. and then you wake up 3 hours later.
Correct.
Or you could just condition your body, like I have, to only need 5 hours of sleep every day.
I mean, I've been consistently getting
Or
like
just
an
5 hour
average of
energies
5
when you
hours of
clock.
sleep
You know,
for
I've
months
actually
or
have
years
conditioned
now.
my body to need about 3 hours and 30 minutes of sleep a night.
It's not conditioning your body so much as your
Just
brain
used to it.
believing
Yeah.
that
It's healthy.
you can't get more and therefore letting you exist without feeling tired because you're used to it. If you start sleeping 8 hours again, your health will improve immeasurably. I'm a massive hypocrite saying this, but please get sleep,
As someone
guys.
that gets only 1 hour of sleep, you should get 8 hours of sleep.
As someone who gets only like 3 hours of sleep a night, please get more sleep than I do.
Speaking of getting sleep, summer, it's coming up. What are the programming plans for summer,
What are
Kai?
you guys
My
doing?
plans are to give up on teaching you guys. Not because I think it's not possible, but because I don't want to do it. It's a lot of
Because
work.
it's not
Understandable.
possible.
And it's really tiring, and I never got the time to just like mess around and teach myself this year, and so that's probably what I'm gonna do this summer. It's like I'll be there to answer questions, and I'll probably end up teaching people anyway, because I do like teaching people. But my focus this summer is more along the lines of like doing fun stuff, like surf drive.
I mean, like, when you make it, you can kind of, like, comment it, kind of
Yeah, like, I'm gonna-
document it.
I'm gonna keep everything I do documented enough to hopefully help you guys, but like, I'll be around to help, but I'm not gonna like hound people anymore. I'm just gonna be there, and if they want to do stuff, I'm a great resource. And if they don't want to do anything, it's not my job to make them.
Yeah, don't need to be a boss anymore.
Yeah, I'm just gonna chill and not be a programming lead. I'll just be like a programming dictionary.
You can just say, like, sorry, I'm busy at VCU.
So I'm busy at
Every time I
school,
get
just
annoyed,
leave me
I just
alone.
go like, wait, never mind, I have class in 20 minutes. But Kai, the VCU you haven't even moved into your dorm yet. Shut up, I have class in 20 minutes.
I'm taking an early class.
I'm taking
I'm
summer
taking-
classes.
I have to go to the lab this summer.
We have to go to Seabase.
I am actually trying to work in one of the labs at VCU this summer.
Oh.
In case it wasn't obvious, I'm going to VCU.
What are you studying, Kai?
Predictably computer science, less predictably art as well. I'm actually probably gonna go toward, like, game design type stuff.
What kind of game design?
I don't know yet. I tend to believe, I like story-based games a lot more, and I tend to believe very strongly in the power of, like, good representation, regardless of whatever it is, so maybe that direction. Maybe just extremely chaotic and strange and thought-provoking things. Definitely not, like, the conventional video game that most adults think of when I say game design.
Like shooters.
Yeah, like, whenever I say, I want to go into game design, a bunch of adults are like, oh, you're going to make Call of Duty? And
Call
I'm
of
like,
Duty
no,
47.
I've never played Call of Duty. The only FPS I've played is Slitherio.
Honestly,
Is that more of a
No,
third person?
Agario. That's the one where you have like the W where you feed people things.
Yes.
It's
It's like when you feed people.
Yeah, you can shoot out your little.
It's an FPS.
It's
Yeah.
more like, I
No,
feel like
it's actually a
more like
third-person
yeah,
shooter
it's more like
because
third
yeah,
person.
oh,
You
yeah.
can still shoot.
Dang it.
That's all.
The only first-person shooter I've played is Minecraft with a bow.
That's a great third-person shooter, to be honest.
Minecraft can be third person or first person.
It's
The
typically
only
first person.
The only first person
If
I've
you're
ever played is
cool.
Metroid Prime.
If you're cool enough, you can do Minecraft in third
I
person.
have played Call of Duty actually with my brother, but I was immeasurably bad at it, and I also didn't like it.
Same.
I think the only actual first person I tried playing one time was Wolfenstein. I couldn't get past the tutorial.
I played Skyrim, and that's
It's good.
first person when you want it to be.
If we're
Yeah,
gonna get
but
back
it's-
into programming,
Skyrim's more different because it's a lot more story as well.
And also,
And
the
not
weapons
guns.
are swords and
Yeah,
not
they're
guns,
not
so
guns.
I don't
And
have to
also
aim. I can
magic.
just. I'm waving my hands maniacally.
So, just getting back to programming real
Anyways,
quick.
comma.
Pro gaming interlude.
Yeah. So, I mean, to people who don't program, how did you learn programming, Kai?
I kind of just like. So this is gonna be an interesting backstory to it. In 6th grade, I had this math project where my teacher, Mr. Mosley, who I don't want to slander Mr. Mosley, where it can be heard later. Actually, he gave us this math project where we had to make a game, and he suggested we make it on Scratch, and so I made it on Scratch. I'd already done like the hour of code on Khan Academy or whatever. And so, I made a game, and then I liked Scratch, and I, like, talked to a few people on Scratch. And then I got into digital art, which is also on Scratch, and so I kept using Scratch for, like, a few years. And then, somehow that evolved into learning about, like, HTML, and CSS, and Python, and a bunch of other stuff. And then in 8th grade, I applied to the CIT. And then when I got to the CIT, I just kind of went insane programming stuff. Like, I tried every extracurricular, not just robotics, but also like Cyber Patriot in various cybersecurity competitions, and also just activities I had to do for the CIT in my class, computer science principles. And so, like, over time, I would say mostly I taught myself programming, actually, and a little bit I got taught programming by, like, Grant Mateo. He was the programming lead when I was a freshman. It's very chaotic.
I think that's how most people learn programming. I think the best way is to teach yourself. It's hard.
It is pretty, in my opinion, it's not that difficult to teach yourself programming once you've learnt the basics of programming. The thing is for some reason, a lot of people this year weren't teaching themselves, which was really strange to me. Because for me, it was the opposite. I actually had to, like, chase people down to teach me. But this year, I have to chase people down to teach them.
I think it's probably just probably from the COVID effect of people
Yeah.
wanting to be more lazy than they should be.
I noticed that I think everybody's noticeably more lazy and depressed because of COVID. It's just like a general pattern. That's just what it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna complain about it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I probably didn't program too much. At all.
I mean, you were at least, like, interested, which was nice. There were also rookies that just straight up didn't pay attention and didn't talk to me, and I was like, wow, what am I here for? What's the point?
Yeah. I feel like the best time to learn is during off season.
Actually, yeah. I learned so much I think the most I learned robot code was, we had this off-season robot, and nobody was programming it, and so I was like, I'm gonna program it, and so I just kind of taught myself programming using our GitHub. And that's how I learned robot code. Fun story, the way I learned how to program a drivetrain is Grant Mateo handed me a drivetrain, gave me like a brief introduction to the Talon SX, I think it is, class, and then went, okay, make me a drivetrain, this is how the wheels are supposed to move. And I did, and then he said, cool, now make it strafe. And I was like, what is strafing? And then he made me another wheel diagram, and yeah, it was interesting.
I remember walking into like the upstairs area sometimes and then just seeing the big diagrams that Grant would draw.
I forgot you guys used to code upstairs.
We used to, years ago. Not anymore.
Right before COVID.
In the old days.
And then COVID struck.
And then we got banned.
Yeah.
Long ago,
we're
the
unbanned
programmers used to
Oh, are
program
we?
upstairs,
Yeah.
but everything
We can go
changed
up
when the
there now.
COVID
We
nation
can go up
attacked.
there, yeah. We do it for
The
chairman.
COVID nation attack.
Oh yeah, we went up there when we did our meeting for this
Yeah.
at one point.
Now the programming rookies are at school, and I honestly think that was a necessary decision because of the person limits at PCS, but not a good decision because there's something different about getting to see PCS and the whole environment and like the tangible effects of what you're programming.
PCS is
'Cause
fabulous.
The thing about robot code is that it's not just code, it's robot code, so it's all attached to like this physical thing. So you have to touch it and like look at it and know how it moves and where problems might happen and have like some level of practical mindset to you. And for some reason, a lot of programmers, including myself at times, are just very like abstract thinkers. Like they can think about crazy algorithms like pros. They can go insane. But if you give them like a very practical hands-on problem, they'll be like, what is this? I want to write words. I don't want to figure out electrical problems. I don't want to know why my code's not working because electrical is not right. I want to know why my code's not working because my logic's not right. But your electrical is wrong, and so you have to figure that out and tell build, because build can only decipher so much when they don't have programming knowledge.
That is why we love Emily.
Me and Emily are like two peas in a pod when it comes to programming, because we both kind of like feedback looped each other into learning more and more and more.
Yeah. So I guess kind of to end off, I think we've asked this to everyone. If you could give one piece of advice to an upcoming programmer, not specifically even a robot programmer, but what would it be?
Any Blue Cheese member?
I would say just like I think Coach has said it before, what you put into this team is what you get out of it. So if you're interested in doing stuff, don't wait for somebody to tell you that you can do it now. Just ask to do it, or even just go ahead and do it. Like if you want to start programming robots, or you want to come to PCS, bother people into saying, hey, I want to go to PCS and I want to work with a robot there. Is there a robot there? Because if you bother people, and if you go out and show interest yourself, it's much easier for people to help you than it is if they have to, like, help you through every step. Like, get some independence, get some of your own interest, get okay with teaching yourself stuff and getting your own initiative. It's not like school, it's not a class, it's interests and stuff.